Good morning. So I just finished my BR weekend reflection video, and I've just been driving around today, and I know for a fact that I think about this a lot, and I'm probably gonna make a video just like this one like 10 different times throughout my life, or really just throughout the year. But anyways, I want to talk about in this video, and I talked about this in my reflection video too, but I want to talk about change. And I've probably talked about this so many times in my past videos, but I can't get over how quickly the world changes and how much things change in such a short amount of time. Because as I'm driving around my area of town, and I guess part of the reason I see this a lot is because I live in Houston, but I always see construction all over the place. I always see places being torn down and built up and that type of thing. And there's a lot of places that get torn down that I had a lot of memories in. But the funny thing is that even back when I was younger, I remember this was always something that was the case. You know, I remember when I was in high school, there was a stadium right across from the mall over here that used to have a lot of dance competitions back when I was in breakdancing, when I was in middle school. And I remember since I was never in advanced, so I never got to compete, but I remember it was always my dream to be able to, I guess at the time, to be able to compete in the dance competitions over there in that stadium. And when I was a senior in high school, I remember seeing that stadium get torn down. And it kind of symbolized, you know, an aspect of life that I feel like people try to talk about but don't talk about enough, and that's how things change, you know. A passion that I once had a long time ago, because I haven't done breakdancing in like 10 years. That was such a long time ago for me, but a passion that I had such a long time ago is now gone. You know, in a stadium that I once wanted to perform in is now gone. And you know, just like the abandoned mall over here, you know, that was once full of life. It has now been dead for over 5 years now. In fact, it's been dead for actually more like 20 years, but for some reason it was still up. You know, I don't know if people, I'm sure most people who live in Houston probably remember this, but a long time ago, there used to be a theme park. There used to be an amusement park here in Houston called Astroworld. And Astroworld actually closed down when I was a little kid. I was 8 or 9 at the time when Astroworld closed. And from what I've heard from Houstonians who have lived here for a long time, Astroworld, it was a theme park that was full of life. It was huge. And I remember it being a huge park. I remember it being a really big park. I remember it having like at least like 8 or 9 different roller coasters. I remember it being crowded. I remember there being, you know, the nasty food and all that stuff, just like every other amusement park. And apparently its last 4 or 5 years, when I was a little kid, the sales were apparently really bad, and so the place just closed. And so I guess what I want to talk about is, you know, how everything happens in cycles and how things change. You know, and earlier today I just got done talking about, you know, my beach retreat reflection. And in all honesty, I kind of feel like, you know, my senior year in high school was a long time ago. You know, I often feel like 2014 was a long time ago. Like my baptism was a long time ago. But in retrospect, you know, I guess the only reason I feel that way is because 1, I'm young, and 2, because I've done a lot since then. You know, but I guess for a lot of people, 2014 might feel like just yesterday for some people. But 2014 feels like a long time ago for me, but I still feel like it was a powerful year in my life. And so one of the things I also talked about in my reflection video was how, you know, there's this big headline about how the management of Victoria's Secret, which doesn't mean anything to me because I'm a guy, but, you know, I guess for the whole fashion industry and for the world, it's kind of a big deal because the company has been so huge for such a long time, and culture shift has been such a big thing in recent years. And seeing I guess Victoria's Secret go through that change, because basically that company is like the standard for I guess like female fashion lingerie type things. But all I've been seeing this as a headline on pretty much every website that I go on. So I just think it'd be fun to use that as an example. They're replacing, from what I've read, they're replacing the management, replacing all the models and everything. And, for the longest time, the supermodels that worked for that company were seen as like top of the top, that they were the best. But I guess in real life, no matter how good you are, no matter how awesome you are, how beautiful you are, nothing really is built on an invincible foundation. Everything can change, everything can wither away, everything can be destroyed. And there's a lot of things that may be full of life for a season or maybe even several decades, but nothing really lasts forever. And I guess everything that I've really placed my value and self-worth in may seem like a big deal to me because, one, I'm young, and because, one, I'm someone who likes to live in the moment. But I guess in the big scheme of things, in the big grand picture of everything, like a lot of the things that we base our self-worth in and all that stuff really doesn't matter. I mean, how many followers we have on social media and all that stuff. I mean, I know I'm probably going to get in big trouble by saying this, but I mean, my channel is so tiny. I don't think anyone is even going to offend anyone when I say this, but it can all go away so fast. I mean, I remember last year, I think it might even been this time last year, the app TikTok was being threatened. Like, I remember, I forget who it was, but they were thinking about actually getting rid of that app. And I know for a fact that like a lot of influencers out there, like their whole life is TikTok. Their whole life is that. And I remember when it was getting taken away or being threatened to get taken away, it was a huge deal. It didn't in the end, obviously, because it's still alive and running. But our lives, people in my generation especially, we build our lives on such fragile things. Yeah, they're big now. Yeah, they can get you millions of dollars now. Yeah, it's big. And I'm not saying that, you're a bad person if you place your value in these things. But, just realize, even if these things pay your bills now, even if they give you self-worth now, they're not forever, They might, they may even, if you're lucky, they might last even a decade. But, think far in the future, like 3 or 4 decades, or even the rest of your life. A lot of these things that people base their life on are not strong foundations. And, I often wonder, with the way that culture is changing so rapidly, with how attitudes are changing so rapidly, I have to wonder, and I even talked about this with one of my co-volunteers this year, like, what's the world going to look like 4 or 5 years from now? Because even things that have had life in it for the longest amount of time, those things can still wither away. It's really fascinating, as I look at the world around me, as I pay attention to life, it's just everything, even at its peak, is so temporary. It really forces you to really think and appreciate everything that's around you in every single season of life, because whether your life gets better in the future or worse, you just don't know. You just don't know what things are going to look like even a few years from now, or even tomorrow, not to scare anyone. So I know I talk a lot about how seasons change and that type of thing, but it really blows my mind. Like, every time I get on the internet, every time I see some news article, it's always about, some type of like big change that's going on in the world or in our society. It really is incredible. I mean, one minute you think you have life made, or on the other end, one minute you think that your life is over and you have no shot, and the next moment you could be either thriving or, it's like that saying, rags to riches, or riches to rags. You just never know. You just never know what life's gonna throw at you, and that's only in terms of wealth. I mean, there's also your health. One day you could be really healthy and the next day you could have some kind of disease. I mean, you never know you just never know when life's going to throw you a curveball. But it's just really fascinating, to see what life brings in the next season, because you just don't know what to expect. This summer I'm planning on, working my tail off for school and that type of thing. And one of the things that Harvard has been trying to teach me and other students is that what's more important than memorizing a bunch of facts and stuff like that is being able to enhance your ability to think critically and understand concepts and that type of thing. Because the thing is that you might memorize a bunch of facts and numbers and that type of thing, and you might be able to ace a test. But the truth is that your memory does not store that for very long unless you use it on a regular basis. So one of the things that I guess I've noticed that a lot of Harvard professors are focusing on is giving students tools that they can use in the long term. And thinking critically is one of them. Understanding and utilizing concepts, and I actually found this out when I took cognitive psychology, is that understanding concepts and being able to apply those and linking them is actually a much more effective way of studying, rather than just memorizing a bunch of facts and a bunch of numbers and a bunch of dates or whatever it is. Because all that stuff that you stuff in your head is going to be forgotten like a week after the exam. Especially if you don't use it on a regular basis. Whatever you don't use on a regular basis after you study for something is going to be gone. So anyways, that's just what what's been on my mind, lately, is just seeing how the whole world is just constantly altering. Everything changes. So I think, based off of what I've been taught in Harvard and that type of thing, I think what we have to focus on in life is things that we can use in the long term, things that are meaningful in the long term, because I know that not everyone believes in God, and I know not everyone in the world believes in faith and that type of thing. But, I do know for a fact that even people who aren't followers of God and that type of thing, I know for a fact that even, those people want to find some kind of purpose and meaning in life sometimes, Even if they don't believe that there is one, they want to find one, they want to create one. And my advice to people who are, Christian or non-Christian, or religious or non-religious, or whatever you have it, or somewhere in between, is if you're going to build your foundation of your life on something, build your foundation on something that's going to be meaningful in the long term. Because life has proven one thing to me, and that is, nothing in life lasts forever. It's so sad, but nothing in life lasts forever. And people, and the sad thing is too, is that friendships is not one of them. Friendships are something that don't last forever either. People are constantly changing. People are moving through different phases of their life. You don't know who's going to be in your life 10 years from now. It's just wild. It's just really wild to think about. This is a long video, so I don't expect anyone to really listen to this all the way through, but it's really wild. It's wild to think about. It's wild to process. It's wild to, I don't know. It's a crazy world out there. I just thought I'd get something like this off my chest. It's raining out of nowhere. But I guess if anything else, this is kind of what makes life exciting. Just seeing where life's gonna take you, seeing what life's gonna bring, and that type of thing. So I don't know.